Hello, everyone. My name is Christine, and I'm the host here at the Hungarian Heritage podcast, the show where we connect your modern life to your Hungarian heritage by building bridges and connecting the circles of Hungarians around us. This podcast is a place where everyone is welcome, where you don't even need to be Hungarian or speak Hungarian to join in on the fun. Each week, we will talk about all the things that we love about Hungary and Hungarian people. So, if you're looking to make that first connection to your Hungarian heritage, or if you're looking to dive deeper, then this is the place to be. Thanks for joining us today. On this episode of the Hungarian Heritage podcast, I will be talking with Eszter Suto from the Hungary Foundation in Washington, D.C. The topic of this episode is very exciting because it will give all of you, the listeners, a chance to participate and interact with an American-based Hungarian app. And that app is called Hugo, or Hello Hugo, if you're searching in the App Store. Although some of you may have heard about this app before when it was in its beta format, the Hugo app has recently improved its platform and relaunched. So stay tuned as Eszter and I discuss all of the details about this interactive community app that allows the user to upload Hungarian places from all around the United States. I would like to welcome Eszter Suto from the Hungary Foundation in Washington, D.C., and she is here to tell us all about the Hungarian community app called Hugo. Welcome, Eszter. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So one of the main goals of my podcast is to help people make connections. And I think that people fall into three broad categories when it comes to being Hungarian, at least in the U.S. And these are categories I've completely made up. So the first category is they speak Hungarian, they live near a Hungarian community, they're probably involved in a community, or like yourself, you work for a Hungarian community organization as well. The second broad category, I feel like people speak or they don't speak, or they speak a little bit, and they may live near a community, but they definitely attend like an event maybe once a year. So there's like a little bit of a connection. And the third broad category that I see, that I've observed, is that people looking to make that first connection. And I feel like there's a lot of reasons for that. I feel like sometimes people are a few decades removed from coming to the US, or they've moved across the country and they've lost that connection. Or an interesting new reason is people are taking all of these DNA tests and they're figuring out that they're actually part Hungarian. So I feel like this Hugo app, this initiative of the Hungary Foundation, is a great tool for any of those categories, because each of those broad groups that I've created in my mind can use it and help each other out to find amazing Hungarian things. So tell us, what does Hugo stand for, and how did it come about? How did you guys come up with this idea through the Hungary Foundation?
Well, first of all, you came up with some very good categories, because there's a lot of truth to it. I'm in category 1, so I also kind of see who's out there, who we can make connections with, or just have some talks throughout events or interest lie. And Hugo is for all of these groups and some more, actually. Hugo is, in case somebody hasn't heard about it yet, it is a free mobile application that is targeted to list or map out all things Hungarian in the United States, which means it can be your Hungarian restaurants, Hungarian street names, from bridges to museums, famous Hungarian people's buildings where they lived, where they came over from Hungary and they just created their art, or pretty much anything down to communities. So where do you find events or Hungarian schools in the area? It's pretty much anything you can think of, even down to businesses. Like sometimes people are looking for an accountant who speaks Hungarian because they are here they have to do their taxes here, but they don't speak English. So they need some help, pediatricians and dentists. So The list could go on and on, but the goal or the mission is to complete the list if it can ever be completed. What we're looking for, or Hugo is looking for, is the help of the users, because it is very important to point out that it is a user-based, community-based application. So we take care of the development, are taking care of the maintenance and sometimes the promotional part of it, but the uploads are done by the users. And that is a crucial point. That's what makes the whole thing work and so exciting, because anybody who knows, oh, there's a bakery down the street who sells zserbo or dobos cake or anything of that sort, you can upload yourself on the map. So if you think about how many Hungarians live in the United States, or not just Hungarians, all those categories you mentioned.
Sure. Yeah. And there are a lot of categories on the app. Like you said, food, drink, events, historic places, communities, services, which, that makes a lot of sense that someone that may not speak English so well, if they've just moved to the US, like that would make sense that they would want to, for comfort, at least when they're first starting out, find a Hungarian dentist or a Hungarian accountant. So I think it's really a good move that Hugo did that, because there's a comfort level there for people when they come to the United States, or if they live in the United States too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hugo is for everybody. So we don't want people to think it is just for Hungarians. It's for anybody who is interested in the culture, in programs or the food or anything like that. So I personally have a lot of friends and even family who started to get interested because either through me or they have friends like, had that really good meal at the other day, or this guy has a funny last name that I saw on my street sign. It's for everybody. That's why the app is in English. The corresponding website is in English. And that's why we chose it to be this way, so people can have access from anywhere.
And I have to say that it's super user-friendly. Course, I've been looking at the app and seeing if there are places that I can add on to. And I really feel like the whole process of looking for something, if you're looking for a food and you type it in the little search bar and you can put like the state you're looking in and just move it around a little bit, it's very user-friendly. I don't think it should be something that people are afraid to use, because it's pretty amazing how easy it was, and I know like I'm pretty, tech savvy, but even for people that aren't as tech savvy, it's definitely a place where they can look to find things to help them out. Now, I live in New Jersey, and, the New Jersey, New York area, there's lots of clusters of Hungarian communities, not as tight necessarily as say 40, 50 years ago, because, people have spread out and moved on. But I was looking in the area to see what I could upload. And obviously there are things that have uploaded, some of the usual things that I was going to post on the Hugo app. A lot of them were there. So, okay, there's a lot of Hungarians here, so they beat me to it. No big deal. But what I did notice is that if someone has already uploaded a place, you can also add a picture to it. A former podcast guest, Curly Kurtosh, it was already uploaded, but there were no pictures. So I uploaded a picture of, pictures that I took when I was there. So it's not just, thank you. It's not just about, I found this place first, sometimes you can add to it. And even if there are pictures, there's options to add more pictures, which I think people really like that when they look at it. So the other thing that I don't know if people realize, that not everything like screams Hungarian. Like you're thinking, I want to upload something, or it might not say Hungarian bakery or Hungarian restaurant. So, for example, I uploaded another place a few towns over that sells European provisions. That's the name of their deli. So they're not completely Hungarian. They're Hungarian and I believe Polish, but they sell Hungarian goods and kolbas. So if people were Googling Hungarian, let's say butcher, they might not reach that place. So I uploaded that as well, because it does have Hungarian things. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the title of what you're uploading. It just has to have Hungarian things that you could either buy or eat or whatever the category is. So,
Yes. It's interesting things you mentioned. So yes, if something like this happens and you want to upload it because you find something in, say, a Russian store,
right.
that's a quite common example. You can always add it in the description. Like
Right.
it's the point or a pin that you're uploading gets its own profile page. So you can add the website, you can add your own comments, and also you can go on other people's uploads and comments. Say, oh, I've been to this store too, and recently they added another Hungarian item. This.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's why we call it a community app, because call it the database is uploaded by the users, by the Hungarians or people who are interested in the topic. And it's interesting that you said that you added a photo. What happens, and a lot of people told me about this, that so if you contribute even with just a picture, you get this sense of pride.
I know.
Like, oh yes, I could add something, and
exactly.
and now I'm part of it, and it's great. So that really is just so nice to hear from our users that they get this feeling. So that's one of the reasons. It comes no matter what, but there's also this little starring system. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, so you can make it into a little game if you want. That for each upload you get a little star. You can count your stars. You can, like, for every state you uploaded in which you uploaded something, it's counted separately. So you can challenge yourself to find something in each one of the 50 states, and then you read something. So it's fun. It's
I noticed that, and so like I'm definitely like a competitive person, so I'll definitely be getting more stars in the near future. So another place I uploaded, which I didn't go to, but my husband and daughter were on a business trip in Tampa. And one of their colleagues had said, oh, we went to this restaurant, because my husband talks about Hungarian things all the time. Even though he's not Hungarian, he has a strong connection to our family. And someone mentioned that there was a restaurant there, similar situation, where one of the owners had Hungarian roots. So there's Hungarian food on the menu. So I went on their website, I took a look, I added it to Hugo, and I wrote in the comments of like the dishes that they serve. So, if people are traveling, they can also look in the cities where they go to see if there are Hungarian restaurants or restaurants that serve Hungarian food, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I always, when I travel, it's very interesting places you can find. Like sometimes you just drive by something, like as one of our friends was down in Louisiana, and she's just driving on the road, and suddenly on the left, there's a strawberry farm, and it was obvious that it was named by a Hungarian owner. It was a Fekete strawberry farm.
That's funny.
And she immediately looks it up, puts it on the map, and that's all it took. And it was just a great little find nobody knew about.
It gives you that same satisfaction as that app the kids were doing, like Pokemon Go, where you find things and you upload it. I feel like that same satisfaction of uploading these places. So, which is pretty cool. Now, the Hugo app just recently did a little bit of like a relaunch, revamp. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Hugo is still in toddler shoes, baby shoes, because it launched originally 2021 March 15th. So it was still the beginning, and at that time it was only available for the Apple devices.
Okay.
And we did it kind of as a test from the development side or the developer side to see what feedbacks comes around and how people like it. Is there demand for the other one? Just because statistically talking, the US market is very heavy on the Apple devices. So that's why that choice. But we were very pleasantly surprised that people started very nicely, but demanding the Android version. Like, hey, I can't download it. I have an Android. And we kept saying like, all right, then let's do something about it. So long story short, the Android version is now available.
That's great.
And you can download whatever device you have. You can either Android or Apple. It's available. And while we were at it, we also had a chance during the development of this second phase to improve on it, to get it a little better. So if you looked at Hugo like a year ago and you haven't looked at it since, then you will be surprised that the first thing that you will notice is that the design is better. It has a cleaner look. It's an easier navigation. It's just more user friendly, and the experience is definitely improved and upgraded. So that's number one. Also, we added a few new features. For example, the event notifications. So if you're in an area or state that somebody uploads a new event, you will be notified. I mean, you have to allow the notifications within the app if you want to do this. Sure. But if you're okay with it, then if somebody uploads something new in New Jersey, then it will pop up on your phone. Like, hey, Christine, did you know that there's a Hungarian butcher at the farmer's market next to you next Sunday? You know,
that's great, actually. So now so the goal is really to get all of these Hungarian events and community organizations to upload these things to Hugo so that people can get the notifications.
Yes. I mean, anybody can upload it, but if somebody puts up an event, it's a great outlet to get more visitors and more interest in your event to use Hugo, because it's free to upload it. And currently we have about 1,700 registered users.
Wow, that's great.
And that's just people who created a profile. I also see that the total amount of downloads are close to like 7,500.
Wow.
So that means that there's this gap, which means that a lot of people just search and look without wanting to register or upload.
Right.
So there's quite a bit of traffic on this app. And there's a new feature I wanted to say that you can, if you're a business or an event, or you just think that you want to drum up more interest for your marker, then you can highlight your event or place. So that's new. That's brand new.
So what does highlighting do exactly? So if I'm a butcher, what would I do?
So what you can do is, so what happens when you opt for highlighting is the pin itself on the map gets bigger, so more prominent, and switch to the list view to look at the places around you or places, you jump to the top of the list.
Okay.
So no matter how the order would be, normally you are going to be top of the list.
Right. So I think it would probably be important for all so far 7,500 people that haven't created an account yet to do so.
Anybody can check if you go into your app, and if you can find that little settings button, and if you say allow notifications, then you can test it for yourself. So
Gotcha. So I will definitely do that, because I feel like sometimes life gets away from us and we forget that there's, an event happening. So if you could get that notification to remind you that, hey, there's a butcher that's going to be at this festival, or there's going to be a festival or dance performance, that would be helpful, especially if you're looking to make connections.
Yeah. And it's especially, say, with this highlighting thing, seasonally, I can see many people just benefiting from it. Say, all these places like bakeries, you want to order a bakery for Christmas, then this is the time to start putting those, or your salon support for your Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Or, like anything, I know when Easter time rolls around, or just any time of the year when you feel like your product or event could be of interest, then you can do this. So I will say that the highlighting has a small fee included with it, but it's really not, I wouldn't say from a business standpoint, anything super high. It's right now we're running a deal because it's starting out. For the rest of the year, it's going to be $10 per month.
Okay.
And then anybody can opt for it. Just get in touch with us on any of our platforms and we can work out the details.
That's great. And that's like a business would do that with you, with the app.
I would say first businesses or events, but anybody who wants like language schools, anybody who feels like that would be something for them, we can do it for anybody, any pin you choose.
Because it's more so highlighting the people that are trying to advertise, essentially. It's free for the user because you're just searching. So it's really more for like the events that are posting and things like that. So that's pretty cool. And I do agree with you that, there are cycles throughout the year where events pop up more frequently for different reasons, like now around the holidays, and then in the spring into the early summer. There's definitely like those cycles of events that happen in different parts of the country.
So yeah, like some of the organizations I know are having their fundraisers because most of these organizations need that income. And I would say with say a highlighted pin on Hugo's map with like a $10 worth of investment, they might get so many extra visitors that would get a good return on their investment. So
yeah, I agree. How many things have actually been uploaded on the app so far? I don't know if you have that number.
I do. So the total number of places right now is 1,180 places across the country.
So you get like daily updates, I imagine, when people upload things.
Well, we do have an admin platform where I can see the numbers and the places to kind of like as a back end to the app. That's also where we see if somebody reported an error, like the wrong address or just an inaccurate description.
Right.
And we try to go and check on it and all. But yeah. So that's where we see that and see just how many users we have.
That's awesome. I feel like that's a great way to like navigate to see where you're getting ground, what part of the country that you're getting the most uploads, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's really just very basic numbers and information. Because, like I said, we're not the uploaders. We just maintain the system, so it's running.
Okay.
So that's it. And there are 7 categories that you can search or upload in. It's historic, food and drink, services or businesses, official, community, other, and events. Yes, exactly. Events. Yeah, a little bit of an odd one out. But yeah, so those are the 7 things. And you can break it down yourself in the app.
Sure.
And see, I just want to see events or I just want to see food and drink.
Right. Well, I think it would be, advantageous for people to really get connected with this app, not only the users to locate things, but just businesses, communities, and all the things that we just mentioned, because it's going to help them, really spread the word about their community. And I think that, no matter what broad category you are that I mentioned before, especially the third category of people who are just trying to find stuff because they've never known where a Hungarian restaurant is or where an event would be because they're so far removed, I feel like they would benefit a lot from this app. And the people that know all of the stuff and that have been around it and are still involved in it, they have the opportunity to upload all these great things. So like all the categories are helping out each other in a way, which is pretty great. So now, is it only available in the US?
I mean, you can download the app from anywhere in the world, but the markers can only be put on US soil.
And is there ever the goal to go to Canada or any other countries with this app?
Not right now. No.
Okay.
We are trying to focus on the US. I mean, it's big enough as is.
True.
And it's a pretty young app. I mean, we'll see what the future holds, but right now it is not in the plans.
Okay. I definitely, I see like in the future, that would be pretty good too. Once you get out of your toddler phase of being with the app, there's definitely a lot of Hungarian Canadians that I know of that would probably love to add things in the future. So Hugo, if you take a look at the app, it has this cute little guy on the front, a Hungarian hussar. So tell us why you picked that as the mascot or avatar for Hugo.
So it actually has a historical significance because there was a Hungarian hussar who was fighting for America.
Wow.
It's a very interesting story. Yes, his name was Kovács Mihály or Michael Kovács de Fabrici, who lived in the 1700s.
Wow.
And he played a significant role in establishing the American cavalry in the South during the American Revolution. Yes, exactly. So, and he was a Hungarian hussar coming over and practically helping out. But he died in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
For the cause of freedom.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I'm sure a lot of people don't know that part of history that it's so connected to a Hungarian hussar.
Yeah, and so he's symbolizing the important role that Hungarians played in U.S. history from the very beginnings. And we thought, okay, that's a good starting point. That's historically significant. And from there on out, like you can see the entire path where Kossuth came over in the 1800s to do a tour of America. That at that time he was quite the celebrity, and then there were newspaper articles of him and everything. So, and that's why we see street names and just a lot of historical items and things that preserved his name and his tour and significance around here. I mean, there's a Kossuth County in, I think, Iowa.
Okay.
So it's pretty impressive if you look back or look at the present moment, what's still there that kind of came from
Hungary. Yeah.
From Hungary, yes.
Yeah, and the Hungarian heritage. It is pretty crazy because sometimes, we just take words for what they are and we don't realize that there's definitely a historical meaning behind them. And it's really only if you look a little deeper that you realize it was a Hungarian, that it's his last name that's the name of the county, or the Hungarian hussar who helped establish the cavalry, because hussars were they rode horses. That was their claim to fame. Not many people know that. So I'm sure it'll be a very enlightening, exciting thing to learn. And I think he's a pretty cute little guy there too.
Yeah, he's a friendly hussar.
Yeah, he's a friendly hussar. Definitely wants to help you.
Yeah, he loves the adventure, and he travels across the United States to find all these spots that everybody can help him find. So that's the idea. It also, gives a little personality to the app, and people can identify a little bit better.
Sure, absolutely. And you mentioned before too that even if someone isn't Hungarian, if they don't fall in these broad categories that I mentioned, sometimes people do want to try different types of foods. And the Hugo app is definitely a great avenue for them to look for things, to find Hungarian restaurants, or even if there's a festival or a food truck somewhere, because you see that all over social media as well. And sometimes people have also traveled and they've been to Budapest. They don't know where to get chicken paprikash now that they're back in the United States. So that's, an initiative and a goal for some people as well, to find those delicious dishes that they may have eaten or that maybe grandma made and they never wrote down the recipe. That's another thing as well.
Exactly. I actually met each one of those people that you just mentioned. Somebody got I've traveled to Hungary 2 years ago and I've been wanting to try this food again. And so they're out there.
They're definitely out there. I have a lot of followers that aren't even Hungarian, but are so interested in all the things that we discuss. And I think this is going to really get you some more downloads on the Hugo app, because I think people are going to start uploading their pictures and things like that. Downloading the app is one way to connect with Hugo. And tell us how else people can connect with Hugo and the Hugo app, or even the Hungary Foundation. Tell us all those things that you'd like people to know of how they can connect with you.
The main thing is the app. So you can find it either in the App Store. You can just look for it as Hello Hugo. Okay. Because we always call it Hugo and everybody goes around mentioning it as Hugo. But in the App Store, there's a big competition for that name. So we named it Hello Hugo to be easier for people to find. There's also a website that's more informative than interactive, but it has everything you need to know. There are the icons, the buttons to take you to the app stores. Okay. It's hellohugo.app.
Okay. I'll leave that in the show notes.
And if you want to hear just interesting bits, we have Hugo has an Instagram and a Facebook page. I'll send it to you, and you can put that in the show notes too.
Yeah, that would be great, because I feel like the more ways that people can connect and be reminded, because if they don't have their notifications turned on for the app, people are constantly scrolling their phones on Instagram and on Facebook so that they'll see things. I did notice that Hugo posted the other day, a restaurant on Instagram. So that's a good reminder too for people, when they follow you on Instagram, because I think that's helpful.
Yeah, we always try to put out something interesting. There's a higher chance to be mentioned if it's a new spot that just went up recently, or like if you're highlighted, then maybe, there's a better chance to be mentioned on social media as well. And it also helps out these businesses. I mean, I tagged this restaurant and they immediately saw it, said like, hey, thanks for the mention. And they shared Hugo.
Yeah.
And they told their followers a little bit about it. And, it's like, that's what it's all about. Like,
I agree.
We know about you, you know about us. Let's connect, let's work together, and let's just create a stronger bond and just make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And, I feel like through this experience that I'm doing, this podcast, I feel like people are very generous to share you and reshare things. If you're sharing their items, it's a great way to grow the community. Lifting someone else up doesn't mean that you're pushing yourself down. We're all in it together to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else you'd like to share about Hugo?
Just encourage everybody to take a look. I hope you like what you see. And then if you do, then stay on it and upload if you know something, like the little hidden spot around the corner from you who's selling the coveted palinko or the paprika or something.
Exactly.
Or, people just stumble upon things in museums, like a portrait made by somebody. And maybe one more thing. I don't know if I mentioned this. We actually got requests from users for this.
Okay.
And it's also a new feature. There's a donation feature built into the app. So if somebody feels like, wow, this is a great idea, I want to contribute not just by uploading something, but actually donating a little bit so Hugo can reach more people and grow the community, then they can find that in the app as well.
Well, that's great. I'll be sure to mention that also in the show notes. And obviously, I'll be posting all of this on social media as well when the episode comes out. I really want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and telling us all about
thank you
Hugo.
for having me.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience. And I look forward to encouraging more people to follow the Hugo app. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it grows.
Thank you. And let us know your feedback. We love hearing from our users. So if there's feedback, we listen. We're trying to do our best to make things happen.
That's great. I think users really appreciate that when, they have the opportunity to give feedback, because sometimes it's feedback you don't even think of necessarily, but everybody has different experiences. So you never know what you're going to come across from a user that gives you a suggestion. Thank you, Eszter, so much. I really appreciate that you took the time out of your busy day. And I look forward to speaking with you soon.
All right. Thank you, Christine.
Thanks for joining me today on this episode of the Hungarian Heritage Podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for more information about this episode and how you can connect with and start interacting with the Hugo app. Maybe you'll find a new place to eat Hungarian food, or maybe you know a place that you want to upload to Hugo. Either way, the Hugo app is a great way to connect to your Hungarian heritage. Thanks to my audio editor, Tori Irvin, for working her audio magic on this episode. Our theme music is Hungarian Dance by Pony Music, used with a special license from Envato Market. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts so we can continue to connect our modern lives with our Hungarian heritage. Until next time, goodbye everyone. Sziasztok mindenkinek!